Welcome to another episode of the Move, Talk, Thrive podcast. Well, today I am going alone. Poor Emily is at home unwell and not sounding very nice, very croaky. So get well, Em, and I am happy today to take one for the team and go solo. Today, I am talking about having difficult conversations with parents and the key things to take into consideration when we need to have a conversation with parents that maybe makes us feel a little bit uncomfortable. So, strap in and let's unpack how we can have those tricky conversations.
We are child development obsessed business besties and mums, and we're here to spill all our secrets.
We have a combined 30 years experience working with children, and each episode we will bring you up-to-date research and evidence-based strategies to set your children up to thrive.
I'm Lizzy Dawson, Australian exercise physiologist.
I'm Emily Mackey, Australian speech pathologist,
And this is the Move, Talk, Thrive podcast.
All right. So, yes, as I said, poor Em is unwell today. So, I am going solo. But the beauty of running a podcast with your bestie is that we can help each other out. And there's been times over the last couple of months that I have not been able to show up just because of the sheer load that I've got going on at the moment. And Em has been able to interview amazing speechies and guests on our podcast while I have been tending to other things. So if you are looking to start a podcast, we both very much recommend doing it with your friend. On that note, we also will be taking a little bit of leave over the Easter break. We've both got school holidays, which means our lovely little people are going to be around more at home. But that also means it's a little bit tricky to find a time to get the podcast recorded. So we will be taking a little bit of a break over the next few weeks, but we will be back in May. We've already started planning those next sessions and very excited to bring them to you. So today I am talking about something I've been talking to my team about quite a lot recently, and that is having these conversations that can be a little bit tricky with parents. Now, what I have realized with my team at Kids Heart Pilates and also at Northside Allied Health is that some of those conversations can feel a little bit uncomfortable. And I fortunately also have the perspective of a parent with a child in therapy. My son is in speech therapy, and also both my kids go to exercise physiology at Kids Heart Pilates. So I've got both perspectives, which is really nice. But we sometimes get a little bit uncomfortable, which can mean that we maybe don't say what we need to say, or we don't say it how we want to say it, or how we need to say it, or how we should say it, perhaps. And I guess it just can compromise what we're saying, how it gets, I guess, presented, and then, of course, the outcome of what is happening with that child. I think the important thing to, I guess, consider is why we're feeling uncomfortable about having these conversations. And I think that it's really normal for starters, really normal to feel uncomfortable. I still sometimes get uncomfortable. It's like when you're doing a sales call, you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable. However, there's some things that we can do to set ourselves up. And one of those is getting that parent perspective. And as I said, fortunately, I've got that. So does Em. And that's a really important perspective to take into place. And I think, firstly, it's very normal, and it means that you care, right? It means that you care and you're taking your job seriously. So I think that's a really, really important point, and to give yourself a bit of compassion there. But another thing to consider, and something that I've been talking to my team about, is that our role as health professionals is very much to advocate for these children. So I see it as our responsibility to advocate for the children's needs. So some of these uncomfortable conversations might be around how a child is behaving in a group class, for example. These are just some things that come up in ours. It might be that you think a child might need further assessment. It might be addressing, yes, some more complex needs. It might be something that we encounter quite a lot with my kindy programs is educators communicating to parents and being worried that the parents won't take it on board or don't want to hear it or are going to have an adverse reaction. But if we come back to that point that we are advocating for this child and it's our responsibility to advocate for the child, then I think you can really connect to that purpose and why we do what we do and what is going to be best for the child. So I really think that our responsibility is to set that child up for success and set ourselves up for success. So what do we need to set ourselves up for success? And I think changes in sessions, perhaps changes in billing can happen quite a lot. Changes in practitioner, any sort of change people are going to feel uncomfortable with. Any new information, people are going to feel uncomfortable with. But I think that if we always go with the lens that we are advocating for that child and it is our responsibility to present our clinical opinion in that setting and present all the information non-judgmentally and let the parent then ask questions and deal with that information how they need to, then that we're doing our job properly if that's what we're doing. Now, I think looking at it from the parent's perspective is also really obviously important. So but I actually think when we think about it from a parent's perspective, it is easier for us to communicate with them. So something that I've experienced as a parent is that when I take Flinny to speech, it's almost like a bit of an accountability check for me. So I take him in, and with our sessions this term, I haven't been able to take him in. So his nanny is taking him in, and she is amazing and the speechy, and she texts me after every session and tells me what's going on and tells me what we should be practicing at home, which is exactly what we do at Kids Heart Pilates. But what I'm taking him to therapy because I care about his development and I want the best for him. I am trusting her clinical judgment and experience. So I really value her input in what she believes the course of action should be. So if that means going and seeing a dentist, I really value that. If that means further testing, I value that. It was the speechy that I'm working with that actually led me to going down the dentistry path, and where we've got an appointment for a plate, tongue tie, ENT. So it actually has been based on her recommendation that we've had a lot of additional intervention, but that's what I'm paying her for. That's what I really value in her opinion. So I think that it's a really, really important perspective that parents are coming to us for a clinical opinion and action and further referral. So I don't think that we should be feeling uncomfortable. I mean, we can feel uncomfortable, but I don't think we should let that discomfort stop us from advocating for that child. So I really think that, our position is to advocate for a child's best interest. And secondly, take into consideration that the parent is bringing the child to therapy and that means that they're really invested in their child's development, and their expectation is that you are referring where you need to refer. You are outlining a clinical plan, and you are providing that additional information. Some of that might not be positive, it might be uncomfortable, but that is why the parent is there to see you. So I talk to my team and I say to them, I want to know if you think that Marley needs to get tested. I want to know if you are using strategies that are working that I should be using at home. I want to know if I should be doing anything else. I'm coming to you for that guidance and direction and support. So I think I think this is a really important part of this on this topic, is that we are not just supporting the children, we are supporting the families. I just did my social media posting, scheduling, copy, planning for April last week. And one of the things that I put in there was that the magic of therapy happens outside of therapy. And we're not going to solve all the problems in a half an hour or an hour a week. What we really need to be doing is providing those strategies and the therapy that can be taken into the daily with families. And that's where that repetition is where we're going to get the best results. So I really believe that this falls under that notion, those conversations that perhaps we're feeling a little bit uncomfortable with are the conversations that the parents are actually looking for. So, so long as we are going in connected to our purpose, connected to our responsibility of setting ourselves and the child and the family up for success and advocating for that child, then we are doing our part. And I think when we come from that that place in us, it can really help to remove that discomfort, or at least act despite the discomfort. Something that I sat down with my team and I think we talked about this in our key performance activity podcast, one of the things that we looked at was, what are some of the things that we do with clients when it goes really well? And what are some of the things that we don't do or we have missed when, maybe a client doesn't return, or maybe the child is not engaged? And those things were around education with parents and communication with parents. And we really started to look at the impact of that. So say the child doesn't come back to therapy, say the child has a negative relationship with exercise, say the parent has a negative relation or perspective on pediatric therapy and doesn't get more intervention, and the child, and it kind of keeps moving on. And eventually, when you look at the big picture of it, we're moving further and further away from our mission, which is, really concerning. And so when we look at it from that perspective, I think that you can step into your power, you can be empowered and advocate for yourself and for the families. And it's something that I keep saying to my girls is at Kids Heart Pilates and Northside, what do you need to set this up for success? And you need to advocate for that. So I think that is something that is really, really important. Now, I think something that's really kind of key in here is about being able to identify when a child needs additional intervention. Something that I feel so lucky to have fostered and created for myself is relationships with other allied health professionals. One being Emily Mackey, who is now my business bestie and co-host of this podcast. And something that I feel very blessed for having is those relationships and those perspectives from other allied health professionals. Now, Emily has helped write my course and helped me really truly understand how movement and language interact with one another developmentally. And we have together unpacked research on how the two are so closely related and how we can lean on movement to progress, children following instructions and to use different language and just the relationship between the two. And something that I think is really important for us as pediatric clinicians is that we really have a good idea of holistic development for children. And so I think that this is something that can help us have those conversations. So if we are working with children and we identify, so as exercise physiologists, if we identify that perhaps there is a language difference or delay there, they're not following, two-step instructions when they're 5 years old, they're not forming sentences, or perhaps they're not sitting properly, or there's some sensory differences that we're noticing, some regulation issues. And we're the first point of call, which I know happens more so with speech than it does with exercise physiology, but it is happening more and more with exercise physiology, where they have stopped other therapies and they're giving this a go because it's fun and playful and not therapy-like. Or they're trying this because they don't have a diagnosis and their parents just want to be doing something. So it's coming up more and more. And I know it definitely is something that speeches will deal with, because you will quite often be the first point of call. You're someone, a profession that is going to be going through thorough assessments and diagnosing and the gateway into getting funding, perhaps. So what I'm getting at is that when we've got a good understanding of the child holistically, and if they're not getting other therapy, then being able to advocate for that child and have those conversations to get more support for the child. And this just goes back to setting the child up for success, setting yourself up for success, and advocating for them. So something that I've created to help our team with it is our milestones map. So it's for ages 2 through till 6, and it's all key areas of development, and basically we go through what activities a child should be doing for motor skills, sensory, emotion regulation, cognitive, and language. And then we've got an area called Act Now, so AKA red flags. And so this I developed from a conversation that I had with Emily, which was, instead of wait and see, support and see. So I've got in each age group, I've got a act now, support and see, which is basically the red flags. So I will add the link to the show notes. This is something that you can access from my website. And it is called our milestones map. But the reason why this is important in terms of having difficult conversations with parents, or having important conversations, maybe not difficult, important conversations. And I think we feel uncomfortable because they are important conversations. So I think that's a really nice reframe from difficult conversations with parents to important conversations with parents. And I think arming yourself with where the child is at holistically and who is in their allied health team, and then being able to have those conversations from a perspective of being curious and advocacy and wanting to set everyone up for success. And when you're coming from that perspective, it's like the armor comes down because you're all there to get results for the child. And when we look at it from that perspective, we're all working together on the team. So, so having a really thorough idea of where a child should be at, and I think milestones can be something that you use as a guide, not as a deal breaker, but a guide, because all children are different, and there's always going to be an age range. And also, children with neurological conditions are not going to be within the milestone range. However, this is really, really good for kids that, perhaps don't have a diagnosis, or you're working with them for language, or you're working with them for motor, and you want a better understanding of them holistically. It also helps with how you can layer that into your therapy. So I think arming yourself with that knowledge is really, really important to be able to have those conversations, and having a really clear outline of when we need to act now and when we need to have those conversations. And then finally, I think another really important piece of the puzzle with this is information gathering and setting yourself up for success. I've said that so many times, setting yourself up for success, or the child up for success. But I think setting yourself up for success for those initials, so that you can start to really understand the full picture of what's going on for this child. Now, we do that as part of our initial onboarding. So we will have a phone call as part of our initial consultation with the parent, so that they can freely discuss what is going on with their child without little ears hearing, which I think has been a really important part of our initial assessment. And in that, we will ask a range of questions, from sleeping patterns to dietary patterns, or habits, through to what other allied health providers that they are seeing, through to what's on their NDIS plan, if they've got one. And then what we will do as part of that initial is we will reach out to other allied health professionals that they are working with. And this is a really important little hack for getting to know the family and really setting up that first session, because it means if you can reach out and have some dialogue with the other allied health professional, you can ask, what's the best way to communicate with this family? Is there anything that this child, really doesn't like or really does like? How can we get the child to engage? What's working and not working? What assessments have you done? And I will ask the parent for the reports and the information. So really getting all the right information initially and along the way. And again, as I say to my team, don't be scared to ask, because that is going to help you, and they're coming to you to get help. They're coming to you for this reason. So I think we need to step into this even when we're feeling uncomfortable, and have these conversations from the perspective that these parents are looking for that support. And when we really look at it from that perspective, I feel like the whole weight of it lifts a little easier. So really remembering that we need to gather the right information in and before that initial session to set ourselves up for that session, and have a really good initial with the family. And when we set ourselves up for success and we're prepared, it means that we can build on that rapport and that connection. And when we have a good connection and rapport, it means that we can have those conversations because it's a safe space. So think about how you can make it a safe space for the family. So remembering that we need to gather that information, arming ourselves with holistic development, knowledge and an understanding of when we need to act now and support and see, and who can help us with that. Now, that milestones map that we've put together at Kids Heart Pilates, we've actually gone through several standardized assessments and looked at the age ranges and looked at what they're asking of each age range. And that's how we've put that together. So it's coming from standardized assessments. And as I said, it's holistic across all key areas of development. Remembering that the parents are coming to us for that help and for that assistance. And so we can step into our responsibility to provide them with that support and that care and that clinical judgment and perspective that we've got. And remembering that we're feeling uncomfortable because we care. So I think when we care, though, we can reframe that to say, this is my responsibility because they are coming to me for my clinical perspective on what is going on with their child. I am here to keep them accountable to those therapy. Now, you will get to know the parent and see what sort of person they are and how they're going to respond to different communication styles. But what we can do is we can educate. And I think that's a really key responsibility of ours. And then right back to what is our role here? Our role is to advocate for that child and to advocate for what we need to set that child up for success. So they're my little hacks on how we can have those conversations with parents and how we can advocate successfully and really move through that discomfort. Don't forget to jump on the show notes and have a look, and you can download my milestones map. And you can arm yourself with that knowledge of holistic development and when we need to act now and refer to other health providers. Never discredit networking and working with other health professionals and connecting with them, because we are working as a team for the best interests of the child. And I think we're empowering each other and doing our job. So it's really, really important. So I hope these have resonated with you today, and we hope that you have a wonderful Easter break over the next few weeks, and we cannot wait to get back in your ears come May. So have a wonderful Easter, guys, and Em will be back with me in May. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Do not forget to review, share, and what's the other one? I don't usually do the outro. Don't forget to review and share the podcast. And we love, love, love hearing from you. So hit us up at the Move Talk Thrive podcast Instagram, or either of our Instagrams if you've got any feedback or if there's any topics that you really want to hear about. We would love to hear from you. We love connecting with you, and we will see you in May. Thanks.